So today, we're pulling back the curtain on a pattern that's rotting local government from the inside, with silence, stalling, and bureaucratic power plays that shut elected councillors and the public out of decisions that matter. In a recent article for The Customer and the Constituent, Jordan Kelly gave it a name: the 5 Ds of bureaucratic sabotage: deny, delay, deflect, discredit, and destroy. Taupō District Councillor Duncan Campbell lays out how these tactics are used to block transparency, suppress debate, and turn principled oversight into political risk. We're talking about a system that protects itself, one where management wields process like a weapon to keep the public in the dark and shut down councillors who may ask too many questions. This conversation isn't just about what's broken. It's about what needs to be rebuilt and who needs to show up to do it. Duncan Campbell, welcome to the podcast.
You to be here.
You've laid out 5 tactics used to shut down democratic oversight, the 5 Ds. Do you think this is just in Taupō, or are you seeing signs of this pattern playing out across other councils as well?
Oh, well, I mean, I've only been an elected member in Taupō, but from all accounts, from what I hear, I'm sure it applies everywhere to a certain different extent in different places. But yeah, absolutely.
Well, with your experience, like of those 5, deny, delay, deflect, discredit, and destroy, which one probably hit you the hardest? Like kind of the moment that made you stop and think, oh, like what's actually going on? Was there a specific moment or an issue? Tell me a bit about that.
Well, my profession is traffic engineering. That's something I know about. That's my qualification and experience in. And there happened to be a contract being let for doing a traffic study. I had no conflict of interest, but I had some concerns that the way it was framed, we could be wasting a whole lot of money and not getting a good outcome, because I've seen that happen many places when you get certainly council staff putting out tenders and they know a lot less than the consultants who are tendering for it. So I tried to insert my influence in there. Hey, let's have a rethink of this. And I was very firmly rebuffed because I'm governance. That's not my business.
Even though it's your background?
Even though that is actually my background, I do know a lot about it. And actually, I think I knew a lot more about it than the staff, which I was offering in a constructive way, but was quite firmly rebuffed on. The reason given was that's absolutely not the role of governance, to affect operational matters as these. And that's something else you'll come up against, I'm sure.
I think when people vote, like I know that when I do and other people I've spoken to, when they vote, they look at that list of councillors or elected members they're going to vote for based on their experience. And we take that experience and think, how's that going to improve our council? And so that's why you choose an engineer. It's why you choose an accountant. It's why you choose a lawyer. And then it seems that from people I've spoken to, they get in and they offer these skills, but then they're not actually able to use them in the ways that probably people voted for them, hoping that they would use, and in the way that the council would actually leverage those skills on the board that they have. Is that kind of similar?
Oh, well, that's absolutely it. I mean, I even had the CEO, believe it or not, tell me soon after that, pull me aside, and, hey, Duncan, you've got to forget you're an engineer, you're in governance now.
Yeah.
So it's like, if I want to pin it down to any one episode where I realised this place haywire.
Have you ever had trouble accessing information? So have you ever had to do a LaGuardia request to get some information, or?
Oh no, yeah, that's just a constant. That's a constant thing, but that's not every piece of information and everything.
Right.
Sometimes I get an answer within a few days, or the same day even.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but if it's something inconvenient or potentially controversial for them, and certainly as time goes by, as I've become more of a troublesome meddler and known for that, that information, unsurprisingly, either takes a long time to ever come my way, if it ever does, or it's deflection, delayed, all sorts of stuff. And it depends depends on the topic.
And have you ever been threatened legally for speaking up? It's something that we're seeing more councillors are reporting. Has this ever happened to you?
Oh, this was even before that incident I mentioned just now. This was within about 6 months of me starting. I did speak out against something, a particular issue, and I didn't betray any confidential information in any way. But because this particular issue was being discussed in confidence, even though by that time half of the local town already knew about it.
Right.
So I did start speaking out to that subject, and very quickly I was called in with a lawyer with a 1 hour interesting interview. The lawyer guy was quite pleasant enough.
Right.
But the purpose of that lesson, if you like, was not necessarily to show me that I was wrong. That wasn't the point of it all. It was more about teaching me that if I'm going to get on in this place, it's about getting on with the other councillors and basically towing the line. It was a very expensive lesson
Yeah.
for the council to pay. So I think the intention of that was to nip it in the bud, nip me in the bud before anything got out of hand. But I suppose things like that, I'm like a red rag to a bull. So
Yeah.
it had the opposite effect with me anyway.
I feel like I'm a bit like that too. How long have you been in local government as an elected member?
Oh, this is my first term, so coming on 3 years.
Oh,
And
okay.
I never had any aspirations to get into local government. It had never occurred to me to do this. I'd always been on the other side of the fence,
Mm,
working in the council and staff. But my own profession, traffic engineering, I saw them wasting a lot of money and doing some silly stuff
mm.
and people getting hurt actually as a result of that. That was my motivation to get into it. But not only that, I could tell, and it still happens, the people get walked over by the council. I think a lot more than Auckland, actually. That was my perception.
Really?
Yeah, interesting. I've got this impression that provincial, smaller places can very much become little fiefdoms of the local council. They can get away with a lot more than they can in larger provincial places. That's just my impression. I don't know if that's true or not.
Have you seen a shift in how elected members feel more like they're a box tick, not genuinely able to contribute? Is this something that you have felt coming in as a first time counselor? Were you surprised that it seemed to be that you didn't have as much influence as you thought you could have, given the reasons that you stood?
Oh, it was a surprise down here. And the contrast I have, of course, is that I used to work in some councils in Auckland, or even Auckland Transport for a time. And even before 2010, elected members had seemed to have more influence and respect than they have now in little old Taupō.
Yeah, that's
So
kind of the same vibe I'm hearing from elected members. Even some have been in multiple terms. You think the system's out of date?
out of date, well, as far as I can make out, the rot possibly started it from 1989 when all these amalgamations and the councils effectively turned into, well, pseudo corporations run by a CEO. Out of date. Well, time for a change.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Arguably, you could. I mean, there is a local government act that we're supposed to be able to fall back on.
How's that going for you?
Well, the problem is, I think there's a mentality out there. We'll put it this way: if the majority of elected members want to do something, they can direct the CEO to do it, so long as it's not harming anyone or blatantly breaking any laws.
Mm.
I mean, you can still break laws, and sometimes there's consequences of it from it, but that could be weighed up if you really want to. But there seems to be a more of a complacent attitude that, well, from word go, you get elected in there and sort of house trained to follow the line and do what staff do because they always know best. And what do you know?
Yeah.
Uh,
One of the things I've been trying to figure out is, everyone on this side, which you've known because you've been on both sides now, you're busy, you're doing your job. So, what tools or rules do you think need to exist so that the public doesn't just find out about deals that are pretty important after the ink's dry? How do we make that stick, or how can we get beyond just another round of what I'm starting to call that consultation theater? Do you have any ideas?
I think even with the existing system, if the population the people become aware of how it operates and how it really is. And I think this is what you're trying to do as well, is really educate people and get smarter, better people in there who are prepared to take back the reins off the CEO and the staff and do what is right and do better for the people. That's my best stab at fixing things for the moment anyway.
What kind of advice do you have for voters? Like, how do we tell the difference between candidates who will challenge this culture and those who will be swallowed by it?
It's an interesting question because it's hard to gauge that because
Yeah.
people can talk up big.
Yeah.
But my motto now is don't trust what a politician says. It's what they do that matters.
Yeah.
I suppose a good way, because they can talk all they like and promise whatever. But when it comes to it, yeah, good question. It's the heat of battle. What are they going to really be like? I suppose in my own mind, I'd be asking questions of these people. What have you done in the past to push back on stuff and make a difference? And okay, maybe you didn't succeed, but what did you actually do? What?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that would be a good question, I think.
So for people who are listening who might feel stuck or stonewalled by council or ignored after making submissions, what's one thing they can do maybe this month or in the future to really help change this culture of secrecy? You know, where's the leverage?
Well, in the short term, the leverage has to be there's an election coming up. Try and get behind some better, smarter people in there
Mm.
who are prepared and to sacrifice time and energy to go and make a difference. And there are people like that out there. It's working out who they are, supporting them, and getting them in there. Because there are examples of some councils where that has happened. It can happen in the existing system, but the people arguably have to be desperate enough,
Mm. Push for
desperate
it.
enough for change.
Yeah.
Just tick the same old boxes. The same old people have been getting pushed back in there every time.
One thing I wanted to call out, you have spoken very highly of Jordan Kelly, who has the customer and the constituent website, right? One of the things I read in that article with the 5 Ds, you called this a mindset problem. What's your message to elected reps across New Zealand who might be facing the same tactics you've outlined and that we're trying to highlight, but are too afraid to speak up?
Well, I suppose I see it as my job. It probably helps. It helps me personally that I've been part of council on the other side, so I can tell when stuff is just being shifted around when they should be able to answer basic questions and they're using excuses. So that helps. But stick at it. Stay determined at it. I've actually discovered ChatGPT is useful for bashing back at bureaucracy in the last couple of months because otherwise it takes a bit of energy to keep on back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And
It's a good point.
it
Yeah.
takes energy and time and it wears you down. And I'm sure that's the intent of it.
Yeah.
But these tools available now. So that's a tip from me.
Can you give me an example of how the 5 Ds work in real life?
The most current example going on right now in my council is called a joint management agreement. It's scheduled to be signed off. It's a big deal. It's an agreement with the pseudo partnership slash co-governance agreement with Te Wharatoa, the iwi tribe around here.
Hmm.
And it's a tricky one. It's been discussed in confidential in the background, confidential workshops since September, really. It was coming very close to sign this thing off. And I could tell there was no intention to consult the public over this.
Hmm.
It wasn't going to happen. I decided to out this information to Hobson's Pledge, who broadcast about it nationwide. You can say what you like about Hobson's Pledge, but the fact is that made it an issue locally because they were very effective at getting the message out. So me doing that absolutely threw a spanner in the works because there was a packed room and it's become a big issue here. And yeah, I'm not sure the answer to the question exactly, but the intention was absolutely there to keep this low profile and get it signed off. And I mean, it's an agreement. It does have some far-reaching implications, and
It's something that should be discussed at a community level.
absolutely, a lot of people are quite outraged that it got as far as it did with no involvement. There's something I did want to mention. Having been part of the system myself as staff, the system in councils, local government, it does not reward innovative thinking or risk taking.
Oh,
Okay,
that's an interesting comment.
let that be clear. And that's my working experience at many different councils. And my observation also is that the people who do try to do much of that,
Right.
sooner or later have their aspirations thwarted and leave. This is my observation. And the long stayers in council, this is a general statement, of course, but compared to private industry, they're less likely to be innovative because you're not rewarded for that sort of thing.
Right.
No, it pays more in working in councils to, yes, sit back and follow the program. That you will be more greatly rewarded for that in the management ladder in councils.
Mm.
Yeah. So that's a recipe for why rates keep on going up and up, because
Yeah.
the staff will always find reasons to spend money,
Yep.
and the government seems to. There's not much pushback against government when they bring in a new legislation or anything. I suppose the classic example must be traffic management or the road codes.
Yeah.
Who was pushing back? Everyone was paying for it. Who was pushing back on that? No one.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
I mean, you'd think the likes of local government New Zealand, you know about them.
Yeah. Well, are you
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
still a member of LGNZ?
we are. I don't want to be, but we are.
Do you think you could get enough people to pull out?
Well, not at the moment, not in the current batch.
Yeah.
Thinking the saying is you got to stay in the ring to have influence. Well,
Right.
there's less and less people in that ring anymore, influencing less and less.
Yeah.
But I mean, arguably, the likes of local government New Zealand advocating for local government, they could have been ones pushing back on this mission creep of traffic management. Hey, this is getting too expensive. We're all having to pay for this. Can we just stop and have a look, stand back and see whether this is even necessary? I mean, how many lives are we really saving? How much money are we spending?
Yeah. Hey, one question I had, this had come up before when we look at like solutions and that chief executive role or those executives who have kind of stayed in that same role for years and years. Do you think it would make sense or help the situation if those CEOs also had to stand for an election every 3 to 5 years? Or do you think that would just disrupt things more?
Oh, that's never occurred to me. I've heard in the United States they elect sheriffs in
Yeah.
some places. I thought that's interesting.
Yeah.
I remember hearing an interview, and I think it was national radio. This guy was over here, and it must have been in the Midwest somewhere or something, and he got elected a few times, and he actually set up these prison camps in the desert.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you can do that with the sheriff, surely you can do it with the CEO. But
Yeah.
interesting question.
I was doing an interview and it was one of the things that came up as a potential solution is perhaps making that CEO role have to interview where to the public you can see what actually have they achieved, what have they done, because the division between elected members and that operational and governance staff, a lot of times those operational decisions are what you vote elected members on. And a lot of times it isn't actually a very fair representation of what elected members knew at the time they voted. That's more of an operational thing. So it was just an idea.
I imagine if that did happen, these CEOs, they'd have to be mini politicians themselves, wouldn't they? Just to
Yeah,
sell
you would.
themselves.
Yeah, you would think. Yeah. So I don't know how it would work. It was just something interesting because and this is just a localized issue, but we've had some of the same people in some same roles for about 20 years. And a lot of people say those people are the reason why things have changed so much in Tauranga. I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Another way these things can be done, and I'm going off talking anecdotally to some old hand
Yeah.
in engineer types, and like pre 1989, these councils, borough councils, were the two most important people in the council, okay, you had the mayor, but you had two people one called the town clerk,
Yeah.
and then there was the town engineer. And they were the town clerk and town engineer was roughly of equal influence. And I mean, okay, I'm biased because I'm an engineer, but they kept a lid on things.
Yeah.
They didn't get overwhelmed in debt. There was probably more risk taking and innovative thinking going on because they could get away with having mistakes and not be severely punished by them. Because that's the problem with when you're innovative and risk taking, is that if things go wrong, you can be punished for that.
Right.
So it's a bit of a catch-22 there. But since then, what you've sort of got the town clerk, the town engineer going down several notches in influence, and the town clerk, the accountant, if you like,
Yeah.
being elevated to the CEO
Right.
on an extortionate salary and expected to be Superman and know everything and
Yeah.
get it all right. And this is why I think rates caps, either government applied. I mean, how often does central government get it right? I mean, relying on them to get this thing right is a bit hopeful, but they're talking about it. The way rates have been going up and up, everyone knows it's unsustainable. You know,
Yeah.
we won't be able to live in our own homes if it carries on like this. Let alone if you're retired, it's just not sustainable. That's because no one's kept a lid on it. And
What do you think about that influence of central government? Like, because are you guys doing the local water's done well? That's across the country, right?
yes. Well, we're stuck. You have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So have you guys made a decision already? Are you still doing those discussions?
Yes, no, the decision has been made in Taupō to keep it in-house, not even go out to a CCO, actually, which some councils are doing. And some councils, of course, are amalgamating their services with other localised councils. There are some councils around the place which are really screwed in debt and infrastructure falling to bits. No one wants to partner with them. This is what I'm foreseeing. No one wants to partner with them, and they can't finance themselves. They can't demonstrate that they've got a viable model. What's going to happen? Well, the government is going to go around and say, "You're just going to have to buddy up with these guys. I know you're not going to like it,
Yeah.
but you're just going to have to suck it in." It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy that the government has said by a certain date that each council has to get the paperwork together to show that its preferred option
Yeah.
will work. Well, there are some councils out there who just are not going to be able to do that. There is a system, and it's not going to fix it by itself.
Right.
And you can get elected in there, and it can be a cruisy job to just sit back and tick box things because everything's laid in front of you. And the arguments seem so sincere and compelling that, well, of course, why would you want to make trouble for yourself and others by sticking your neck out and arguing against it? So the system's in place. But I think the realization now surely has come to the people that, hey, this can't go on.
Something's not right.
No, it can't go on like that.
Yeah.
In the short term, the more people realize that, they can vote in some people who are actually prepared to sacrifice and push back against this.
Yeah.
And you can, even under the existing rules, so long as you've got a majority of you like-minded like that, you can do that. And you can push back. It's not going to be easy at all. Pushing back on the CEO who's been had one in there for 20 years, who's been doing his own thing, his or her own thing.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, telling them how to do their job. I mean, that's not very easy, is it?
Nah, probably not. Hey, good luck with the election.
All good.
Okay.
Oh, nice talking to you.
You too. Thank you, Duncan.
Cheers. Bye.